Committee on Parole is called back to order. The time is 9:15. Our next case is Miss Christina Constance. Ms. Constance, would you please give us your full name and DOC number?
Christina Constance, 536344.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Constance, let me explain our process to you. First, I'm going to read some information into the record. Then we're going to conduct a parole interview with you. And at the end of that interview, you'll have an opportunity to be able to make a statement to the board before we vote. Do you have any, you understand our procedure?
Yes, sir.
This is the matter of Christina Constance, DOC number 536344, date of birth January the 6th of 1976. She's classified as a first-time felony offender. She has a parole eligibility date of October the 2nd of 2011. She is not eligible for a good time. She has a full-term date of February the 5th of 2025. She is currently serving a 20-year sentence on the charge of forcible rape, having been sentenced on March the 10th of 2008. Ms. Constance, is that basically accurate?
Yes, sir, but they got my birthday wrong.
Okay, what's your birthday?
It's January 6th of 76.
Oh, I'm sorry, what did I say?
February 6th.
Oh, no, well, it's correct. I misspoke. I don't know where I got it. Yeah, it's January 6th of 1976. So you just had a birthday not long ago.
Yes, sir.
Is this your case? No, it's mine. No. Your case has been assigned to Mr. Pete Freeman. Mr. Freeman will begin our interview process. Would you please answer any questions he may have?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ms. Constance, how old are you?
I'm 47.
Okay. And how long have you served on this sentence?
17 years.
Okay. What's your educational level?
I got my GED and also I got my upholstery.
I see that. Okay, good. Constance, give me an idea of what was going on in your life at that time. I mean, how did you find these victims? Were they related? What was their age ranges?
The victims, one of them was my son. One of them was a little girl named Josie Falgu, which was a goddaughter to my ex-husband. Now he's my ex-husband. One was her brother, which was a godson to my ex-husband, and one was a neighbor's nephew.
Okay. So what was the deal? What was causing y'all to do these types of things?
I was in an abusive marriage. I know that's not an excuse. That does not excuse anything that happened. And he brought that into our marriage because I did not do that up until I got with him. And I am very sorry for what I did in it.
What was your participation? Just briefly, not, you don't have to get into detail. What was your participation? We've all read the rest of it.
With Tony Barnes, I had sex with him, which was wrong. I was wrong for. With Josie Falgu, I put my mouth on her part, that between her legs one time. With my son, I put his penis in my mouth twice. Kenny Falgu, I had sex with him, which I was wrong for.
Okay. And how old were these boys? The ones you had sex with?
They were 14 and under.
Yeah, I see you have 3 children. Do you still have contact with all of them or?
Yes, I
just your
do.
girl? Okay. Well, how's your relationship with your son?
It is good. We have contact through my mom. I still writing, and he gives messages to my mom, and I get them through my mom.
You have the opposition from law enforcement, the DA, Scott Carolyn. Your mother is in favor of you getting out. One of your victims says you deserve a second chance. Another person says your husband was to blame. And then we have one of the victims that's opposed. That's the ones that answered. What did you learn from sex offender treatment?
How to see, let me see, how to see I'm trying to see how to put this in words.
Uh,
How to see how it's going to happen before it does happen.
If you had a chance to speak to your victims, what would you tell them?
I have a composition notebook. I'm not allowed to write to my victims, but I did write in my composition notebook to my victims that one of the social workers did. Can I read some of these to y'all?
Yeah. Yes.
Tony Borns, I'm sorry for the sex I had with you. I was wrong on my part. Then you told me thank you when we were finished, like it was okay, but it wasn't. I was wrong. Please find it in your heart to forgive me. Tell your family I was wrong and I'm sorry. That was in 2001 that it happened with him. Josie Falgo, it was in 2004 when it happened with her. I know my part, what I did was wrong now. They put in my mouth on your private one time, with David holding my head. And when you went and took your bath, you were scared and wanted me to get in the tub with you. Then when we got out the tub, I lied to David and said something happened and it didn't. I am very sorry for my part in it. I can't take back what I did. I can only pray you forgive me when you can. Joseph Keaton, my son, happened in 2001. I'm sorry for putting my mouth on your penis 2 times. One time, I was forced, but the other time my head was so screwed up because everything David put me through and everything he told me, I thought it was okay at the time, but it was not right. I know that now, and you found out when we got arrested, it was not right. Kenny Falgo, 2001 and 2002. I'm writing to tell you I'm sorry for having sex with you. On my part, it was wrong because you were too young. I should have spoke up and said no, either no, we were both scared, and I would have got beat for not doing it.
All right, thank you.
Well,
What is to be your transition plan if you were to be successful? Where are you gonna live?
I'm going to my mom's in Bogalusa.
Do you have any kind of drug problem? Were you using drugs when this happened?
Yes, sir.
What kind of drugs were you using?
Meth and weed.
Okay. How old were you when you started using meth and weed?
I was 25.
What kind of classes have you taken to address that problem?
Substance abuse and
Celebrate recovery.
celebrate recovery. Living, life worth living is a struggle class also. Life, life healing choices.
Thinking for change.
Yeah, I think maybe we'll change over. You take quite a few classes, which is good. I mean, you hadn't just been sitting there idle. Gordon, when I looked at for her write-ups, I didn't see them in the folder. At one place it said she had 26, but I didn't see what the charges were.
Yes, sir. It is 26 charges. The last write-up was a Schedule A, and that was in December of 2016.
2016, so she's been disciplinary pretty good since 16.
Yes, sir.
Anything else you would like to say, Warren?
No, I was just gonna note, one, obviously about her write-ups with her disciplinary report. She obviously caught some traction in 2016. Whether that was after the life healing choices class that she mentioned. And she has really taken quite a bit of self-help classes and kind of focused, with her getting her GED and focusing on upholstery. So hopefully, if she is released, seems to be a pretty good support system, and I know her family would be happy to have her back.
Okay, I see y'all have a mental health plan. Do you have someone there that can address that with me?
I don't have a mental health worker in here right now. Is there a specific question you have? Obviously she, is noted she is a mental health level of care 3 and on medication. So we will make sure that she is set up with an appointment prior to release in her local town.
Yeah, it just said mental health plan will be set up by LCI.
Yes, sir. So we'll make sure she'll leave with 30 days worth of her mental health medication, a prescription for another 30, and then she'll have an appointment set up prior to release.
I've been working with Kingsbury and all that.
Okay, that's all the questions I had.
I have one or two.
Yeah.
Constance, you've done good. You're doing real good today. I know you're nervous, but you're doing good. Take me back to the day that you went to the police department yourself and told on y'all. What happened that day? What triggered that?
My conscience.
You weren't high that day. You were clear. You weren't no drugs or anything.
No, ma'am. I stopped everything and I clear-minded and I had a chance to think and I had a chance to talk to a friend of mine where I was staying. I left David.
Okay.
I was talking to Kim, a friend of mine at the time, and she sat down and talked to me and I went to the police. She brought me to the police department and she told me before we went, she said, you could be arrested. I said, I'm okay with that.
So although you had left, you were concerned about the kids because there was his godson and his goddaughter. They will still be around him. That's what you were concerned about, and you had to put a stop to that.
Yes, ma'am.
That speaks volumes. I want some clarity on that. And on the last hearing you had, and you were actually continuing the AA and get involved in the mentoring. Did you have an opportunity to do any mentoring?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about that.
I was mentoring in Celebrate Recovery, Life's Healing Choices, and Hannah's Gift.
Good. Warren, will you speak to that? How was she? What did you hear about her mentoring? How was that?
More on like the facilitation since she had taken the classes and then kind of go back into the class and mentor some of the other ladies who are fresh and new to the class.
Oh, I got you. All right. Thank you. That's all I had, Jim.
Thank you. We do have two people here in support of you, your mom, Miss Shirley Keaton, and Stephanie Phelps, your sister. Are they present? Are they on Zoom or are they just here? No?
They're in Zoom.
Are they on Zoom?
Mhm.
I don't see one up there.
They're, aren't they?
Mm-mm.
Doesn't say. Says it.
I don't-
With y'all,
It's just a business she.
is your mom and your sister there with y'all, do you know?
No, sir, they weren't able to make it.
They weren't able to make it. Oh, okay, okay. Is there anything you'd like to say, Ms. Constance, before the board votes?
These 17 years I have been incarcerated, I think sometimes now that my head is cleared, that I would rather have taken a beating than hurt these kids the way I did. But back then, my head was not right to make any choices. Every day I regret what I did. And if I could go back and change it, I would. Now that I have a right clear head, I'm not trying to make excuses for what I did back then. I'm just writing what's on my heart and in my head. Before I reoffend, I will ask God to show me my sins before I fall again. I feel bad about myself that I have hurt these kids mentally, emotionally, and security. What I mean about security is their trust with adults. They can't get around someone and think that they won't be hurt again. I so wish I could take back everything I did. That was my part in it. I am no longer mentoring others. They took that away from me because of my help. This is after I was mentoring that my health got bad, but it's better now. I had kidney problems, but they're 60% healed right now. So if y'all will grant me, I could go home and go to a kidney doctor on the streets and get everything straight.
Thank you very much, Ms. Constance. We appreciate your comments. Is the panel ready to vote? Mr. Freeman?
Okay, Constance, I'll be point blank with you. Your crime was very, very serious, very heinous, hurt a lot of people. I do think you're remorseful for it. You did come forward and go to the sheriff's office. But it's still, like I say, it's scarred a lot of people. But on the other hand, I look at it and I want you on supervision. I don't want you being released full time without nobody to make you go to your mental health appointments and without anybody to make sure you attend your sex offender classes. So my vote today is to grant, and with the condition that you follow all recommendations from the mental health people and attend those sex abuse classes, which will be in the contract.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Ms. Wise?
Constance, you did a great harm. You know. I appreciate hearing that today. You've healed yourself and you've been helping us. That's all I can ask. And in the words of one of your victims, he said, thank you for getting them out of it, for what you've done in his life. And he said you were a victim too. So one of your victims said he saw you. He saw that you were a victim too. But you were a brave victim, very brave. And I want you to continue that bravery and on the other side. My vote is to grant too, and I concur with the special conditions that's been outlined. That's what you see.
Thank you.
Ms. Constance, you have two votes to grant your parole I concur with, my colleagues for all of the same. The crime was horrible. You know that. You accept the responsibility for that. And you are on your way. So my vote likewise is to grant the same conditions. So good luck to you.
Thank you all so much.
Okay. Where do we unpack this one, right? I actually did a recording, and then I felt like I had to watch it again and do another one because I'm gonna first start with Miss Wise. If someone can tell me, I had to listen to it a second time, but I don't think she understood. You know, she said something along the lines of, and about how your victim said thank you, but what are you talking about? She literally read from her book what she did wrong. She said, after I finished with him, and you said, then you told me thank you when we finished, like it was okay. But it wasn't. So, Miss Wise, he wasn't saying thank you for any reason except that he, like, I think to Miss Wise's credit, I didn't see her on her phone during this hearing, but again, I don't think she was paying attention. But anyways, where I'll harp on next is, where's the prosecutor? Right? Like, we are so accustomed to seeing the prosecutor show up to keep an habitual offender, a non-violent offender in prison, and they'll show up and they'll give a whole speech. But when it comes to this type of predator, this type of cockroach, prosecutors nowhere to be found. No. She starts off by saying, when they said, tell us what you did, she said, I was abused. I got married and he brought it into our marriage. Really? He brought you molesting, raping 4 babies into your marriage? Four known victims. Known. She said, what'd she say? She said 4 under the age of what, 15? Her son was 7. The goddaughter was 11. I don't know the neighbor's nephew, and I can pull it up. I have the transcripts here, and what makes this a little bit confusing to pull up dates is that it happened over a very long period of time. It happened over years. She's blaming it on her husband. And she wasn't a baby. She was 30 years old when she went to the police station to confess. 30. She served 17 years on her 20-year sentence. She's 47. She was 30 years old. I was abused. He brought it into our marriage. You don't bring that into your marriage. She was literally laughing throughout her hearing. And then, like, it's just, there's something very wrong with her. She's either a straight up cockroach, or she's got like the IQ and mental ability of like a 5-year-old, except I would argue that a 5-year-old would still have more decency and it's like you sit and you listen to things like this, and your brain just turns into, and so it just gets mashed up. You just can't process it. I can't process it. This is even my second time watching it and trying to formulate my words. You know what the problem is that I think she was lying. I don't think she's not expressing real remorse. I didn't see one tear shed. I didn't hear her voice choke up once. She read from a book where she was saying, where she was almost like in her defense statement was trying to take less accountability, listing how many times she did it. One time she was forced. Another time she just did it. What she said, when we got out of the tub, I told David something happened, but it didn't. What is she talking about? She apologized in her note that she claimed she did something with this little girl in the bathtub, but didn't. That to me just sounds like like a defense thing. I don't know, what is she talking about? When she told what she did with her son, one time she was forced, but the other time she wasn't because she was confused. You're confused? Your 7-year-old son? She's still, I know 47, you're getting on the cusp there, but there are 50-year-olds that have kids. What happens if she has a kid? You, there is something very wrong with her. That goes without saying. She's a cockroach. And she's going to be free. And she's going to be the scariest kind of cockroach because she looks harmless. You wouldn't know. And someone might leave her kids with her. Someone might say, sure, babysit. And I know it's going to be against her supervision. And that's part of why they gave her parole, because they want to protect her. And I get that part. And arguably, it's the best thing to do. Because what, serve the extra 3 years for what? So she can get out without supervision? But one day the supervision is going to end. Now, if you want some type of relief, her husband did get a proper sentence. I haven't really seen this before, but he was sentenced on each count to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole or suspension of sentence. I think he was given 4 life sentences. But let's go to the facts of the case. Now, I couldn't find her appeals, but this was her husband's appeals. And maybe that's because she took the plea deal, which she did, and to testify against her husband. Which, by the way, all of the kids were brought up to the stand. So giving her a light sentence wasn't to help the kids. It was simply to give her a deal. And I guess to have her, But so on February 1st, 2005, Christina Constance, the defendant's wife, went to the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office to speak to someone about the defendant. The detective, Woody Overton, offered to assist Christina. Christina told the detective that the defendant had forced her to sleep with his 16-year-old nephew. 16. She said under 15, so he doesn't even know the own age of, unless he was older at the time. I don't know. The defendant had also performed oral sex on her 7-year-old son, then forced her to also perform oral sex on her. The defendant performed oral sex on her son, and then forced her to also have oral sex with her own son. Based on police investigation, which, by the way, she did it then voluntarily on her own because she's a cockroach. It's crazy. It's so crazy. Based on the police investigation of the matter and several child advocacy center interviews of the alleged victims, the state brought 4 charges which spanned several years against the defendant for aggravated rape of minors. They list the names here. 1991 was a birth date, 1994 was a birth date, 1989, 1993. Can you believe the 2 of the kids were their god kids? Someone entrusted this cockroach enough to say, you're going to be my kid's godfathers, and then this is what he did. Can you imagine? Be careful who you trust. The defendant asked him if he wanted to have sex with Christine. Okay, it just gets into pretty nasty stuff. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's 19 pages of this cockroach's appeal. Her husband. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that she's just a complete sociopath? She's sitting like that, really feels no remorse. You know, that's what I don't get. It's like you can say, well, she has the maturity and the IQ, but do you need to have a high maturity and IQ to feel empathy and feel bad and to cry at your own hearing and to shake in fear of having to live through the terror that you brought and shame you brought upon yourself and your family? It's easy. It makes more sense to just say she's a sociopath. And I know I have no background in understanding psychology or any of that stuff, but how else can you explain it? Because I would argue that even an immature, underdeveloped mind would feel remorse and shame and express it on their hearing. And then if she is a sociopath, then what's going to stop her from doing this again? I guess any situation, what's going to stop it? You're really just letting a cockroach, you're letting evil, you're letting something like this roam back into the streets. And I get she's going to have supervision and she's going to have be on the sex registry, but she's going to be in some trailer park somewhere or some neighborhood somewhere where there are kids. Like, how's that work? I didn't hear accountability. I heard she was blaming her husband the entire time. That's what I heard. When she apologized to her son, she said, "Sorry, I did it. David had me all messed up. I thought it was right." The time that she did that to her little boy, to her 7-year-old son, on her own, without her husband there, she said, "Sorry, I did it. David had me all messed up. I thought it was right." She was 30 years old when she walked into that police station. And I don't believe she did it because she all of a sudden got conscious to do it. She said so herself. She was talking to her friend, and her friend said, "You got to go to the police station." She was given an ultimatum. I believe she was given an ultimatum by her friend. He said, "Holy, what are you doing?" Or in some sense, pressure started. She was about to get caught, and she knew to save her own self that she would go to the police station. I believe that's what happened. And that's not her being like the way that the Did Miss Wise said that? Oh, you were brave to go there. Don't give her any credit. No, for real. Crazy. But what do? Do you keep someone locked up forever? Do you think she's at risk of harming more people? With that, I'll let you go. I'll put the documents in the description.